Hello, high school football world. Welcome back to National High School Football. I'm your host, Larry Godwin. I hope your summer has been fantastic, but here in the South, not so much. Guys, I see Zack kind of laughing a little bit. We are roasting in the heat and humidity of late July. But you know what, guys? There's light at the end of the tunnel because it's almost football season. That's the only thing we have to look forward to in the Southeast because of the humidity is at the end of this thing on the other side is football season. So, guys, your favorite teams have been working their heinies off since January to put a product on the field that I'm sure that you can be proud of. And so we're here on the eve of another great season. And tonight I have a treat for you. Joining me on screen are two of the very best high school football pollsters in the nation. So in this corner, we have Joe Maimone from Prep Gridiron Logistics and National High School Football. And in the opposite corner, weighing in as new dad, we welcome back Zack Poff, National Football Editor of MaxPreps. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, and I refer to him now as Logan's father.
Yes, that's what I'll go by from now on. So, yeah, it's crazy to think, man. He's going to be 2 months old now. Time's flying with him now. It's crazy.
Don't blink, brother, because it goes by in a hurry. It really does.
Yeah, I can tell.
All right, so guys, let's get back to the football talk. It's been a long, hot summer, like I said in the intro, but here we are on the eve of another great season. And with that, I get a chance to talk to you guys, pick your brains about your top 25s. Now, as you would expect, we have some familiar names, and you both have some familiar names in your top 25, but both of you have some surprises in there as well. So we'll kick it off. So Zack, before we get into the 2025 talk, I'm going to throw up on the screen your final poll from 2024. Is this everything that you expected it to be and how the 2024 season played out?
Yeah, I mean, up top, Mater Dei, Milton, you knew both those teams were going to be powerhouse programs. And, Milton, that was arguably one of the best Georgia teams of all time. But unfortunately for them, Mater Dei went wire to wire as the number one team. And I think they finished the year with 8 wins over teams that finished ranked in the final MaxPreps top 25. So they only earned last year's MaxPreps national championship. The big surprise for me was what North Crowley did in Texas. Everybody thought Duncanville was going to win another state title. You got Keelan Russell, who's going to have a chance to start at quarterback as a true freshman at Alabama this year. And then obviously DeCorian Moore at Oregon, he's going to be a big-time playmaker for the Ducks. That was one of the best wide receiver quarterback duos in the country. But North Crowley took them down in the semifinals with Quentin Gibson. They had an explosive offense. That was really the big surprise for me last year, was the way North Crowley went 16-0 last year. Also had a big win against DeSoto early in the season. So, but yeah, a lot of teams kind of played chalk and did what we thought they were going to do, but there were a few surprises like North Crowley as well.
Yeah. So, Joe, what was do you have any surprises that you noticed at the end of the 24 season?
No, actually, great minds think alike. Zack and I had the same 6 teams in the top 6. I just had them in a little bit different order. I had Mater Dei, I had Milton, I had Gorman, Bosco, North Crowley, Duncanville. But we had the same 6 teams, just in different order in our top 6.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into the 2025 talk, because as a new season comes around, they're obviously same teams, but potentially a different crop of athletes, a different crop of potential superstars. Because listen, let's be honest, all these teams are loaded with major blue chip D1 athletes across the board, right? So I'm really interested in getting into the discussion tonight and kind of picking your brains about your top 25. So let me go ahead and put this on the screen. So guys, as you can tell, we've got the top 25 for both organizations, National High School Football and MaxPreps, side by side. And so guys, what I thought we would do is go through your top 5 first, because you've got some similar teams, but you kind of disagree on 1 or 2 of them. Okay, you both agree at Mater Dei starts the preseason number 1. Joe, I'm going to start it off with you. What do you like about Mater Dei? Why are they deserving of this number 1 spot?
Oh, it's talent. It's all about talent. I mean, talk about, from quality 5-star, 4-star, 3 stars, you add them up. I don't think there's a team in America that could compete with what they bring back. And last year they just dominated. They're just, they've been as dominant as it gets the last 5 to 10 years. So until somebody beats them, they always have to start the year, if not number one, close to it. I remember last year I was the lone pollster. There's 9 pollsters that put out these polls every year. And last year, I like to be different. Everyone knows that. I had BG one and them too. But it was going to get settled because they play each other. So, but this year there's no doubt about it. I believe 7 out of the 9 polls are out already. Only 2 aren't, and Mater Dei is number 1 on all 7 right now.
Zack, what do you see from Mater Dei?
Yeah, I mean, just exactly what Joe said. And you look at Mater Dei, it's depth. I mean, they're deep at every position. You got a couple of good quarterbacks. Ryan Hopkins coming over from, J. Sarah Catholic, another Trinity League power. He's coming in at quarterback. He's a Wisconsin commit. But you look at that offensive line led by Cody Green, a 5-star Washington commit. The defense is loaded at all 3 levels. Obviously, Tomohini Tupoi, he's a 4-star USC commit. This guy wrecks the line of scrimmage. He's a big-time dude in the interior. And then, linebacker Sean Scott, a bunch of other dudes. Secondary's loaded with a bunch of 4 and 5 stars. This team's absolutely loaded, and I can't wait. They start the year to face off against St. Thomas Aquinas out in Florida, so that's going to be a can't-miss game because I know Aquinas, they bring back a lot of guys. This is a program they've won, 6 consecutive state titles, so that's going to be a fun game to start the year. But, yeah, I think it was pretty easy with Mater Dei to start the year at number 1 just because of all the guys they bring back. And you look at that wide receiver core with Chris Henry Jr., Caden Dixon Wyatt, and then you got Mark Bowman at tight end. There's going to be a lot of weapons to get the ball to for that Monarch offense.
And
Joe, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Guys, we have the same top 3,
yeah.
Larry.
Yeah,
they all play each other. Well, I mean, Mater Dei plays Gorman, and obviously Mater Dei Bosco at least once. So
Yep.
Yeah. So, Joe, since we're on Mater Dei, I'm going to put you on the spot. You've got St. Thomas Aquinas and Mater Dei in your top 4. They have a early season game head-to-head.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them's going to go down. Who do you think is going to be?
I can't. You know what? I can't bet against Mater Dei, even though they're on the road playing in the afternoon in humid Florida. You can't. You just can't. The Broward.
These guys are used to traveling down there.
They are, and they played in every type of whether it's heat or distance or whatever. They always perform well. So I can't bet against them. I love Aquinas though. I'm starting them in my top 5, not only for the great players that they have, but the people don't recall or they forgot, the ex-Miami Central head coach, Larry, who we've interviewed several times here, Jube Joseph, is now on their staff. So
really?
So he's I'm already hearing rumblings that he's bringing some of the better Miami City players over there too. So they're going to have a roster that could compete with Mater Dei. I just think Mater Dei is too strong.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
You know how it is too. Like if you have strong offensive line play, you're going to be a factor. And Mater Dei and Aquinas have 2 of the best offensive lines in high school football. So whoever keeps their quarterback safe and jerseys clean, that might be the deciding factor in that game. But like Joe said, it's hard to go against Mater Dei. And you look at Mater Dei's schedule this year. I mean, it's as tough as anybody's in the country. Playing Aquinas on the road. They got a big game in Vegas against Bishop Gorman later in the season, and then obviously playing against all the Trinity League opponents. So it's going to be a fun year for Mater Dei. It'll be interesting to see if they can go wire to wire again as the number 1 team in the country. It's crazy to think, just to show you how dominant they've been though. Since 2017, they finished ranked in the top 3 in our poll every single season. No other team has finished in the top 5, I think 3 or 4 consecutive years, and they've done it every year since 2017. So
Zack, their 3 toughest games this year are all on the road.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I think I'm going to be at the latter 2. I wish I could get out to Florida, but at least I won't be in that 100-degree heat or humidity. So I'll say this though, Larry, I'm coming out to Georgia on Wednesday, so you're not getting me too excited about all this humidity and heat. So,
Ooh, man, listen, I was working in the yard Saturday. I had to get up early to do that because if you start afternoon in the summertime, you're going to get bear caught. If you're from the South, you know exactly what bear caught means. So I think the heat index in my front yard was like 116.
oh boy,
It was brutal. You know, Zach, speaking of, you brought up Mater Dei's schedule, just to let our viewers know of that schedule. You know, they start August 23rd at St. Thomas Aquinas. They host Bishop Montgomery. They host Kahuku out of Hawaii. Then they're at Centennial, at Bishop Gorman, at Orange Lutheran, at home against Santa Margarita. Then they host Servite, J. Sarah Catholic, and then they're on the road at St. John Bosco.
I mean, it's really maybe like one pretty easy game. You know, maybe a couple of those games. I wouldn't expect them to have a problem with, you know, J. Sarah or Servite. No disrespect to those programs, but they're not at the same level as Mater Dei right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about a schedule right there. That's tough. You know, Corona Centennial is no joke either. Where do you have him at, Joe? I got him at 12. You got him at 8. So, you know, Matt Logan, he's 5 wins away from 300. You know, arguably the best public program. As you know, over the last 20 years, he always has that team in prime position to win and play big games. You know, shout out to Corona Centennial because they want that smoke, man. They always play legit competition year in and year out.
Yeah. So, you know, we've spent about 10 minutes talking about Mater Dei. So we got to get this show on the road. So let's go on about, let's talk briefly about St. John Bosco, because they're you know, perennially, they're always a top contender as well. As a matter of fact, it seems like it's always St. John Bosco challenging Mater Dei. You expect the same this year?
Yeah, I think, I mean, Mater Dei has lost 5 games since I think 2017, and all the losses have come against St. John Bosco. No other program has beat Mater Dei since 2016. So that just shows you actually 2015. Corona Centennial is the last team to beat Mater Dei, and that was 10 years ago, which is crazy. Bosco's loaded. You know, I thought about maybe putting them at number 1. Koa Mala'ulu was a freshman quarterback last year. Bosco's had big-time quarterbacks. He was the first to start on varsity as a freshman. You know, we were talking about Mater Dei's receiving core. Bosco's got a very talented one as well. Baden Williams, Daniel Odom are both back. They got a bunch of other guys too. A very good defense. Jason Negro, great head coach. They're going to be ready to roll. And I'll say this, the Bosco schedule kind of a little lighter than we've seen over the last few years, but you know, they still got some dogs on the schedule, and then you obviously get to the Trinity League. So
you know, I mean, they have you know, Mater Dei and St. Francis. So
that St. Francis game, that's going to be that'll be a big test for Bosco, because that's really their first big, huge game to start the year, because they got to Florida to start the year. Should be they're going to play.
They play Manatee, right?
Yeah, so that should be. I would chalk that one up for Bosco for sure. But September 5th, that's going to be a big game, because St. Francis really ended the season strong last year. They know what's going on at quarterback this season, and they had a very young team last year with a lot of talented guys coming back.
You know, I was, guys, I'll be honest, I was kind of frankly surprised that they, nothing wrong with the Manatee program, but I was surprised that Bosco is traveling to go on the road to play Manatee. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, I would have thought they would have maybe taken on a team like Heritage or, you know, Chaminade Madonna like they did last year. That was a back and forth game. You know, Bosco took the lead late in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, that one kind of surprised me too. But, you know, Manatee, shout out to them. They wanted the challenge, and St. John Bosco granted it to them. So
guys, Larry, I do a lot of the out-of-state scheduling for Bosco. And I can tell you that was the only team that you know stepped up and invited them. I mean, me and Coach Negro, we start early the prior year looking for games, and Manatee's really the only one that stepped up. So he really had no choice that week. It was that or take a bye, basically.
Yeah, that one struck a chord with me, being a local guy here in the Southeast, mainly because Manatee travels into Georgia in early September to take on the Lowndes Vikings, led by the number 2 quarterback in the 2027 class in Jace Johnson. So I'm keeping my eye on that one for sure. So, Zach, you kind of surprised me when you put a Georgia team in your top 5. I mean, the Grayson Rams are really, really a good football program, but how good are they to crack your top 5?
It's just last year, obviously they had that crazy weather game against Collins Hill to start the year, and there was a 1-point loss, and they ran the table after that. And they beat a very good Carrollton team in the state title game, and they bring a lot of guys back. I've been a huge fan of Tyler Atkinson since he was a freshman. This is a guy who enters his senior season. He's almost had 500 career tackles, and he's still got 1 year left of high school football. Texas is getting an absolute dude. Tyler Atkinson, the thing I love most about him, he does all the stats, but you can just tell when you watch him play football, he just loves playing football. They got their quarterback, Travis Burgess, coming back to a North Carolina pledge. They got a talented receiving core, a very good offensive line. And, Grayson, year in and year out, usually has a really, really good defense, and that's going to be the case again. They start the year again against Collins Hill. That should be a good game to start the season. And they
Raven Gap.
Yeah.
And then at home against Thompson, which is going to be a great game, as evidenced by last year's results.
And both of you guys have Thompson in your top 25. So I'm really looking forward to that game. There's a lot of talk about Grayson this year. They are probably the cream of the crop when it comes to 6A football in Georgia this year. Everybody's expecting them to repeat. They had a great state title run last year. We'll see if Buford is going to be enough to slow them down, but a lot of people in Georgia like the Grayson Rams.
Yeah, I like Buford this year, but I think Grayson's just got the edge a little bit. We'll see. I mean, potentially we'll probably see those two meet up at some point in the playoffs. And it'll be, that's an interesting game to start the year on August 14th. You got Buford against Milton. Milton lost a very talented class of 2025, but, Coach Reeves doing a tremendous job there. It's more like a reload, compared to having to find a bunch of new guys. They got guys waiting in the wings, so it'll be interesting to see how Milton does this year.
And Larry, it's funny. Zach, correct me if I'm wrong. Milton's quarterback is a transfer from St. Thomas Aquinas, correct?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Derek Baker. He's a stud, man. I thought he was going to be the next great guy at Aquinas, but he ended up coming to Georgia to play for Milton. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. He's looked great. It's off season and all that, but he looks like he's fitting that program pretty well heading into this year.
So let me ask you guys something about St. Francis Academy. They've had a reputation of being a great program. They've kind of not softened, but kind of taken a step back a little bit. Is this the year they return to top echelon in national football?
You know what? I don't agree with that statement. Just because you lose to Mater Dei and St. John Bosco and Buford, that isn't taking a step back. Come on. They beat IMG 30-3 last year.
I'll say this too. Coach Masai, they love scheduling tough, but a little easier this year. Not as brutal of a schedule. You're not going to see a 3-week stretch where they're playing
Mater Dei, Duncan,
SoCal, to play Orange Lutheran, and then you go to Texas the following week, and then you go back to SoCal to play Mater Dei. So schedule a little better this year. They still got a top 10 schedule in the country for sure, but it's just spread out a little better, where you might get an easier game the week before you play St. John Bosco. So this would be, they play Chaminade Madonna to start the year, or the second game of the year for them. So that'll be a big game for both programs. We have both those teams in the top 10 in our national rankings. So
and I honestly think if not for Mater Dei, St. Francis would have the best defense in America to start the season.
They can make a case.
Sure. So let's talk about this a little bit, because you challenge my assertion there about St. Francis Academy, right? So here's the premise behind that statement. So in 21 they go 8-1. The next year they go 9-1, and then the following year they do take a step back and go 5-6. Right. And then the year after that, which was last year, they go 8-3. So that's why I said it just appears they've taken a step
look
back.
At the losses again, where our poll's all about strength of schedule.
Sure.
If somebody loses to Bosco or Mater Dei, they're not dropping in the polls. If anything, they may even rise. So I personally would rather rank an 8-2 team with 2 great losses than somebody who's 12-0 with a really low strength of schedule.
That 5-6 team too, though, like that schedule was insane, but
Yeah.
that team went through so many injuries that season. It was just
fair.
unfortunate too. But that's the thing too, when you have what was that the year they didn't have like a home game till November? So
well, yeah, and this year, for the first time ever, half their games are at home.
Yeah,
that never
that is surprising.
Yeah, and remember, they don't have a home field. They rotate between the Under Armour corporate campus has a field, Johns Hopkins University, and Morgan State.
Yeah. Now, guys, to your point, both of your point, their losses in that 5-6 season were to Buford, Chaminade Madonna, East St. Louis, St. John Bosco, Mater Dei, and IMG Academy.
like I said, like
that's a murderer's row.
Yeah, that year was arguably the toughest schedule in high school football history that year.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. All right, so let's go to the 6 through 10 spots. Guys, you got both of you have a pretty healthy group of Florida teams that round out the top 10 there. So what do you see in the state of Florida? Because some of these teams look pretty familiar, like we just talked about some of them on these schedules, the top 10 programs. Like, what do you like in American Heritage? Because both of you have them in your top 10.
I like their quarterback.
Yeah, hey, 5-star Texas commit. He was named Elite 11 MVP back in, I think it was in June down in SoCal. So he's a stud, man. Last year he took a big jump from a sophomore to junior season last year. He got hurt in the playoffs, but he still threw for over 2,600 yards, had 29 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a Bryce Young type of jump too from junior to senior season. I think Diabell is going to be, a chance to be the MaxPreps National Player of the Year this season. I think he's going to have a huge senior campaign. They got a tough schedule, so he's going to have the opportunities to shine on the big lights. They go out to New Orleans. They play Edna Carr in September. They play St. Joe's Prep early in the season. I think that'll be their season opener after the preseason kickoff classic. So a couple of big games for Heritage, and then towards the end of the year, they're going to play St. Thomas Aquinas. So they got a lot of big games this year. Do they play Chaminade Madonna again this year too, or no? I can't remember, but
I got to look that up.
Yeah, I don't know if they play them again this year.
I think they do.
What I like about them is, again, we always love strength of schedule, and we look at returning players, especially the starred players, 3 stars through 5 stars. Only St. Thomas Aquinas has more starred players than American Heritage. Aquinas has 12, and Heritage has 11.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Then Chaminade Madonna has 8.
Man.
So that, that's, and the good thing is they're all, with my poll, after I crafted it, I was like, this is pretty cool. I realized that the top 12 teams are all going to be connected in one way or another through common opponents, through head-to-head. So that's a beautiful thing.
And so to your point, that's why you say if you take a loss to one of these teams, because they're all the top tier teams are always playing each other. Mm-hmm. So if you take a loss to one of those, you're not going to drop very far because look who you played.
No, unless you lose by 50, you're not going to drop.
Yeah.
If it's a close game, you lose by 7 or 10, and the game could have gone either way. I've had teams actually rise in the rankings with a loss to a quality team.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So Zach, I was incorrect. American Heritage does play Chaminade Madonna.
That's awesome.
September 5th.
Yeah. That's great. I love all those teams should be playing each other annually.
That's right. Because they play the same night as Bosco and St. Francis.
That's right. They got a pretty tough schedule too, man. It's just looking on here. I see him playing St. Joseph's Preps and Chaminade Madonna back-to-back weeks. They take on the end of the season. They've got St. Thomas Aquinas. So they got a pretty rough schedule too.
Edna Carr is a huge game too, especially in New Orleans. Edna Carr, they finished undefeated for the first time since 2018 last year. They bring back the majority of their guys. They got John Johnson at quarterback, Big Richie Anderson, D tackle. This kid's one of the best defensive linemen, one of the best defensive players in the country. So that's going to be a get your popcorn ready game for sure. And also too, you brought up Florida. Just year in and year out, man, Florida's got the best talent. I mean, you just see the data with NFL drafts every year. Florida usually has the most kids drafted in every NFL draft. And, I want to talk about Miami Northwestern real quick too. They got to do Teddy Bridgewater right. This dude is out here trying to help these kids, help this community, and they suspend him for this. I probably shouldn't be talking about this on camera, but
no, that's fine. Most of us feel like you do.
I'm in Teddy Bridgewater's corner, man. I don't think he was doing anything wrong. He's just trying to help a lot of these kids get the best life possible. And he's a guy who could still play in the NFL. He's a guy who could coach in the NFL, coach in college, but he chooses to go back and help out his alma mater in high school. And then he gets penalized for trying to help these kids out, have the best chance at reaching the next level. This is something they need to figure out and use common sense instead of looking at what is actually an infraction, because at the end of the day, all he's trying to do is do something selfless by helping these kids. He's not doing this to help the program. He's doing this by trying to help kids in that community, because let's just be real, that area is not the best area, and he's trying to do everything he can to keep those kids safe and to play football at a high level and trying to better them. So I hope they figure this out and Teddy Bridgewater is back coaching soon, but I just felt like that's something that needed to be said.
That's crazy. And
Larry, all of us on this call, we know people who are teachers, and we know people who spend their own money, whether it's buying supplies and
that's a given.
And we know this happens. What he did was no different than any teacher at most schools in America. He did it at a higher level, but it's the same intent.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Zach, since you brought it up, this Florida thing, the debate happens every single year. Okay. Who's got the best talent? Who's got the best teams? So I just did a quick calculation based on what we see on the screen. Joe, you've got in your top 10, you got 4 teams from Florida and 3 teams from California. Zach, you've got 4 from Florida, 2 from California. Now in your top 25, Joe, you've got 6 from Florida, 4 from California, and Zach, you've got 5 from Florida, but you have 6 from California. Guys, in 2025, who's the best state when it comes to high school football?
You can go first, Joe.
Man, I mean, if it's from top to bottom, I say Florida from top to bottom. But if the top 5 teams from each state played each other, I think Cali would win at least 3 out of the 5.
Okay.
This is what I've usually gone by. I feel like when you talk about talent, Florida's king. When you talk about depth, I would say Texas is the best. But then when you mix everything together, coaching, talent, and depth, I would give the edge to California, because I think when you just combine, especially top heavy, California is tough. Like you got Mater Dei and St. John Bosco. I would take those 2 programs probably over any other program.
And I'd add Centennial. I'd say with Centennial, they could shut out most states' top 3s.
Yeah, I look at it this way: like the 4th or 5th best team from California would have a chance to beat the number 1 team in Florida, where I wouldn't give the 4th or 5th best team in the state of Florida a chance against Mater Dei or St. John Bosco.
Gotcha. Ooh, that's a pretty strong statement. Guys, this is just we're not going to get into this, but just an observation about the state of Florida. I've noticed over the last probably 5, maybe going back as much as 7 or 8 years, there seems to be a migration of Florida football head coaches coming into Georgia, mainly because higher pay. Mainly because of higher pay. So, I don't know if it's a coincidence that we see more Georgia teams starting to hit the national profile, the national scene. I don't know. Don't have the data to make that kind of statement, but I have noticed a definite migration of really, really good coaches coming into Georgia from Florida.
Yeah, they want to get paid. Like Florida coaches do not get paid that much at all. Like
they're the lowest paid of any state that I'm aware of.
Which is crazy because it's arguably the best state when it comes to high school football. So, and it's a lot of great coaches too. So it's really a shame. They got to figure out that problem for sure. And then you look at Georgia, you got guys making well over 6 figures. So, and it's deserved. It's a lot. It's not an easy job, especially if you're coaching at a marquee program and you want to get taken serious on the national stage. It's a 365-day job. So I have no problem with what these coaches are getting paid.
Yeah, I think one of the newspapers here, it might have been the AJC or National High School Football Daily. I can't remember which organization it was, but they published just about a month or so ago the top paid high school football coaches in Georgia, and the
top 25, Larry.
The top 25, and the top high school football coach in the state of Georgia was making over $200,000 a year. That's the serious kind of money that Georgia high school is throwing into their head coaches, and that's why we're seeing this migration.
And Larry, once I read that, I did a deep dive myself, and I tweeted after the fact that of those top 25 highest paid coaches, only one won a state title that year.
Yeah, because Coach Reeves isn't on there, yeah? For Milton, I don't think he's on there.
No.
He may not be. He may not be. Now that data was probably at least a year old, because I know some of those coaches weren't at those schools anymore, so that might have been a year-old data. But anyway, very, very interesting observation for sure. So I got you guys on record. Who's better, Florida or Georgia? If you guys, the viewers, get upset with, it's their fault. I didn't say
Florida.
it.
Easy, Florida.
I would say Florida for sure when it comes to the top programs. But, I mean, it's funny, though. You look at the top 100 we came out with, Georgia actually had more teams than any other state with 16. So
I saw that.
But Florida, for me, it's a toss-up between Florida and California. I'd lean California. My order would be California, Florida, Texas, then Georgia.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So that brings me up a question. Joe and I kind of talked about this. So Zach, we're going to spring it on you.
Yeah, of course.
These teams that you guys put on these national polls like this, including some of the lesser known teams. So if you are a national high school football fan and you're watching this program tonight, and Joe, you take a look at your top 25 on the left-hand side of the screen there. Is that the right-hand side? I can't remember.
It's left. It's left if you're looking at the screen. Yeah.
That's right. So Joe, you got teams like Douglas County and maybe lesser known First Academy out of Florida. Everyone recognizes Buford and Milton, but they may not be as familiar with West Broward and Zach. Same for you. People may not be as familiar with Cass Tech and maybe Corner Canyon.
Yeah,
some of these types of teams. What is your criteria to put some of these teams in your top 25?
It's pretty easy for me. It's, how they finished last year and who they beat and who they played, and then obviously who they have coming back. And, some programs too, you just know year in and year out with the coaching staff they have and, the facilities and the freshman team and all the young guys, even middle school kids. It's just a program that they have instilled in it where, they're going to have kids year in and year out. But a lot of it has to do with how you played last year, obviously, who you have coming back this year.
Yeah.
And that's really the biggest thing for me. Preseason rankings are always the toughest. It gets easier as the season goes because these teams play each other. You see it actually on the field and not on paper. You look at Santa Margarita, for example, at number 16. This is a team that went, 5-6 last year. But Carson Palmer comes in as the head coach. They bring back a very talented group. Trent Mosley, a 4-star USC commit. He was a little banged up last year, but when he was healthy, Santa Margarita was a different team. So I think that's a team that might surprise some folks this year. I think Carson Palmer is going to do a phenomenal job in his first year. You got Trace Johnson coming over, transferred over from Florida to take over at quarterback. His dad used to be a star quarterback at Florida, Doug Johnson. So that's a team I'm looking forward to this year. They play number 14 Mission Viejo to start the year. So that's a can't miss game that weekend.
Guys, does it surprise you of some of the high profile football names coming out of, top tier college talent, certainly NFL players turning into high school head football coaches?
Well, remember, he's Palmer's an alum, so it's easier there. Okay. It's easier for alums to come back. But we've had it. Remember the former Jet and Kevin Mawai went to Lipscomb Academy.
That didn't work out too well, though.
So you see it. There was a former Giant, Pepper Johnson, was at IMG, right, Zach, for a year or so.
Yeah,
Joe, we had Trent Dilfer. Took over a prep academy in Tennessee before he went to UAB.
Yeah, that's Lipscomb. That's where after Trent
left, took over after him, right?
Kevin took over for Trent.
Yeah, you got Philip Rivers doing a great job in Alabama.
Yep.
You know, you got Chad Pennington also coaching. You got Eric Weddle coaching. There's a lot of Jason Witten doing a phenomenal job
in Texas.
So there's a lot of former pros. Obviously, Teddy Bridgewater is probably the biggest name.
Yeah.
Even before the suspension came out. I mean, he did a great job last year. He led Miami Northwestern to a state title in his first year there last year. And they added even more dudes this season. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Because if this Teddy Bridgewater situation does not get resolved, it'll be interesting to see if a lot of these kids stay at Northwestern, if they maybe transfer to another school in that Miami-Dade area.
You know, especially with the Florida transfer rules, right? They had one of the most liberal transfer rules in the nation.
There are no rules.
That's exactly right. And so that's another reason why it surprises me how they don't pay their head coaches more, because you talk about the pressures they have with roster management, man. So it's a tough situation, that's for sure. All right, so let's talk about maybe 11 through 15. Joe, I'll start with you. You've got teams like, you know, familiar names like Bergen Catholic, St. Joe Press. So do any of these teams kind of stick out? Do you expect this group of any of these teams in this group to kind of go up and crack the top 10 as the season progresses?
Yeah, well, they're going to have the opportunity. I mean, BC is playing East St. Louis. They're playing West Boca, who's a good team out of Palm Beach County. St. Joe's Prep is playing DeMatha and American Heritage. They're going to have the opportunity. Grayson, obviously, we already spoke about. They're going to have the opportunity. You know, unfortunately, the two Texas teams are there. They don't play any significant out-of-state competition. They're going to have to beat each other. So we'll see what happens there. But if they all beat each other, it's not going to help them in the national rankings.
The St. Joe's Prep, do they play St. Francis this year as well?
Yeah, yes. So Prep plays St. Francis, American Heritage, and DeMatha.
Yeah, that's a tough 3-game stretch right there. Yeah. I mean, same with me, man. I think Miami Northwestern, if they figure out the Teddy Bridgewater situation and they keep all the players they have, that's going to be a very good bunch right there. They play Orange Lutheran to start the year, so that'll be a good Florida versus California matchup. I think you set that game up, Joe. So good job on that one. Corona Centennial, that's going to be a fun team. Buford, we talked about them earlier. They're loaded. Mission Viejo, I love Vance Bafford. He's used to be a Georgia commit. He flipped to Miami. He's a stud wide receiver. He's basically the next Cooper Kupp. And Edna Carr, man, they're loaded in New Orleans. That's going to be a fun team this year.
And Larry, a fun fact, why American Heritage is playing Edna Carr. American Heritage's former coach, you know him, ex-NFL player Patrick Surtain. He's an Edna Carr alum. So he even when he was there, and he's still involved with the program, he always wanted to go home and play his alma mater, and it's finally getting done in 2025.
Guys, when we go through maybe halfway through the season, I know maybe this might be an unfair question, but let's kind of we get into our DeLorean time machine and we go halfway through the season. Does this top 25 list stay pretty much the same with some shuffling of teams in one or two positions, or do we have a shakeup like maybe with the Northwestern situation, that kind of stuff?
I mean, sometimes you just can't predict it. Like last year, North Crowley wasn't in the top 25 to start the year.
Nobody had him.
They finished the year at number 3. I think I had DeSoto at 7 to start the year. They finished the year ranked outside of the top 25, pretty far down because they got blown out in the playoffs against Longview. So, yeah, there's going to be some surprises for sure. I mean, I think Texas is the biggest wild card this year. I don't think you really know who is going to be the best program in Texas. I kind of played it safe going with Duncanville because year in and year out, they're always very talented. And they always have a good group coming up, even with Keelan Russell and DeCorian Moore leaving. So I think Texas was the hardest this year, though, because I just don't think there was that one clear-cut favorite this year in the state of Texas. So I think South Lake Carroll's a team that has a chance to be really, really good, but they lost to Vandergrift in the state title game. So it was hard for me to put them in the top 25 to start the year. But I think Riley Dodge is doing a great job down there, and I think South Lake Carroll is going to have a chance to actually be the the top team in Texas when it's all said and done.
Hey, Zach, one of our colleagues, another national pollster, came out with their preseason poll today and had South Lake Carroll number 2.
Oh, wow.
In the country.
Yeah.
What does he say?
Huh?
What does he say?
Was that Blue Star?
Yeah.
That I would have thought it might have been the Massey ratings because they love Texas.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at those ratings, I think 7 out of the top 12 are Texas teams,
and then the rest are Oklahoma.
Yeah. So
that's all right. If I had my poll, I'd probably skew it heavy towards Georgia. Yeah,
right.
Just a little bit of regional bias.
Everyone thinks we're biased towards California because we're based in California, but it's not. It's because California is really, really good at high school football.
That's right.
Yep.
Listen, as big as that state is, a lot of great athletes out there for sure.
And Larry, based on your question just now, I mean, in our poll, like I said, the top 12 teams are all connected. They either play each other or they have common opponents. So that can move, that can shake some things up in our poll. We got Mater Dei playing Bishop Gorman, Bosco playing St. Francis, Aquinas playing Mater Dei, and all those other teams. St. Francis playing all the great teams they're playing. IMG, same thing. Heritage, same. They're all connected. Our top 12 teams are all. If you go down 1 through 12, from Mater Dei to St. Joe's Prep, they are all intertwined in one way or another.
Let me ask you something about one of the program from the state of Alabama that both of you have in your top 25. It's the sole program from Alabama that you have, and that's Thompson out of I guess one of the suburbs of Birmingham.
Birmingham, yeah,
that's right. And so this is basically, if I had, it used to be Hoover, but Thompson basically is now the crown jewel when it comes to Alabama State football. I think both of you would agree. Is Thompson one of those teams that just belongs in the top 25 because they're that good? Is there any, based on their schedule, is there any way for them to crack the top 10?
Well,
look, they play Grayson, so if they beat Grayson, they're going to have a good chance. I love Trent Seaborn at quarterback too. I mean, this is a guy he led them to a 7A state title as an 8th grader, and he broke a bunch of 7A state title game records. And the kid is in 8th grade, and now he's entering his junior year. He gets better every year. Thompson's loaded. Coach Freeman, man, he's
the best.
Yeah, he's turned this program into the marquee program in Alabama. Last year they had 3 losses, but all 3 of those losses came by 1 point in overtime. So
and I've been paying more and more attention to Alabama only because my son goes to college at Auburn, so I'm down there a lot. So I've seen these teams like Auburn, like you at Trussville, Thompson, Hoover, Johnson, Phoenix City Central. I mean, this is good football, and they're not afraid to play anybody. I mean, I think 2 of the teams are playing IMG this year, right? Yeah. Hoover and
City.
Yeah, Phoenix City Central. They're both playing IMG, which is a testament. You got teams out there. I mean, states out there like Cali and Georgia who don't allow their members to play IMG, and Alabama does, and every year if they want.
Yeah. So, I think Hoover opens up with them, and then they play Central Phoenix City on September 26th. So
Yep.
So I'm struggling with your justification for Thompson a little bit, because I'm looking at their schedule, and outside of Grayson, compared their schedule compared to some of the other schedules that we talked about a while ago, like a St. Francis Academy, that kind of stuff. If Thompson goes undefeated, do they crack the top 10 based on the compared to the schedules that some of your other teams have?
I think just with that Grayson win, they'll definitely jump in the top 10.
Okay,
so that'll give them good justification. So, and like Joe said, I think Alabama is one of the more underrated states when it comes to high school football and producing talent. They're gonna play the best teams in the state of Alabama. Mm-hmm. So that carries a lot of weight, and you tack that on with the win at Grayson. That'll for sure boost them into the top 10 and give them a valid case to be ranked that high.
Yeah, that Grayson Thompson game in my poll is number 14 against number 16.
Yeah.
And in Zack's poll, it's number 4 against number, where is it?
24.
4 against 24. So yeah, I mean, they have the potential. If they beat Grayson and win Alabama, which is a tough state to win, that to me that's top 10 material.
That's fair. Grayson is arguably, like we talked about earlier in the show, they are probably the kings of high school football in the state of Georgia, right? So you got number one in Alabama versus number one in Georgia.
Yeah, I believe most preseason polls have Grayson above the others. I believe. I got to check.
It'd be hard not to have Grayson ranked as the top team in Georgia with the talent they have coming back after winning a 6A state title last season, especially with all that Milton lost. And I think it's tough to not have Grayson as a preseason number one in the Peach State.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Guys, just to round out tonight's program, because we are going on 45 minutes, because it sounds like we are chomping at the bit to talk about high school football this season, get this season started. So just to round out our top 25 poll, what out of these 25 teams, which team is going to surprise you the most this year? Zach, I'll start with you.
I talked about them earlier. I think, especially with the schedule they have, this might be the toughest schedule in the country this year. Santa Margarita. They're gonna play Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, Bishop Gorman, Corona Centennial. They're gonna have one of the toughest schedules. Mission Viejo. I mean, this schedule is absolutely loaded. So that's a team, I think, if they can even lose maybe one or two games, they're going to be a serious problem this year. I just think they're loaded on both sides of the ball. And Trent Mosley is one of my favorite players in the country. He's a difference maker. You saw it last year when they boat raced Corona Centennial. Trent Mosley was the reason why. So if they get good quarterback play from Trace Johnson, I think Santa Margarita is a team that could make some noise. And with the schedule they have, it could be like back in 2021 when Noah Fafita and Tetro McMillan led Servite all the way to the CIF Southern Section D1 championship game and finished the year ranked inside the top 5. So I think Santa Margarita and Carson Palmer is a team to watch this year.
Ooh, okay.
I have a couple. I'm going to stick with California too. Corona Centennial. I have them number 8 in our poll preseason. They've come close over the years to beating the top Trinity League teams. If they somehow do it this year and win the state of California, and they could for sure be number 1. Remember, Larry, you know this, in our poll, at the end of the season, we will our mythical national champ will have to be undefeated. We've unless I'm forced to, I will never have a one-loss team as a national champ. That's just our philosophy. There's 16,000 high school football teams. We feel the national champ should be undefeated. Also, Aquinas. I like dealing. One of my favorite clients is Mater Dei because they'll play anybody. And as a promoter, Mater Dei has never, ever, ever. That school opened in 1950. They've never lost to an out-of-state team. So as a promoter, I'm always chomping at the bit to find them a great game. So if they lose, I could say I'm the one who put together the game where the out-of-state team finally beat Mater Dei. St. Thomas Aquinas, if they beat Mater Dei and they take care of business in Florida, again, I mean, they have to be considered to be a top 1 or 2 team, being undefeated with a loss against with a win against Mater Dei. So I'd say Centennial. I'd say St. Thomas Aquinas and Centennial, looking at my poll, have chances to shock the world.
Joe, I didn't really think about it until you just broke it down like that. But you're right. St. Thomas Aquinas has got a great chance, given the schedule that the top 3 teams above them have. Mm-hmm. Mater Dei could easily, with their brutal schedule, they could have an off night and drop a game.
Well,
St. John Bosco could easily drop a game.
Larry, they look who they're playing. St. John Bosco away, Bishop Gorman away, Centennial away, St. Thomas Aquinas away. Those are 4 away games for the Monarchs.
Yeah.
Conversely, if they win out this year, they may go down as the top team in the history of high school football.
Could be.
The big question with Mater Dei this year too is how's the quarterback play going to be?
Right.
And, that was the question last year with Dash Byerly, and he played great. Mm-hmm. And as the season went on, he got better.
He did.
So if Mater Dei gets the same quarterback play from Ryan Hopkins or Fearon and Fura, who's a 2027 guy, if either one of those guys has a big season, they're going to be tough to beat. But if they don't get great quarterback play and you're on the road to start the year against Aquinas, against a team that is going to get after the quarterback, who knows? Some things could happen, and we'll see how it plays out. But the nice thing is, for those quarterbacks, you're going to have a great offensive line. So it's going to help make his job easier.
Well, guys, we started tonight's program talking about Mater Dei, and it sounds like the national championship runs through Mater Dei, one way or the other. Is that a fair statement?
I'll say this for us, this is the 6th time Mater Dei has started the year at number 1 since 2017. So they've established themselves as the premier program in the country. Mm-hmm. I think Joe would agree that no one has been better than Mater Dei since 2017.
Not even close.
Well, guys, that's all the questions I've got for you tonight. I appreciate this has been a very, very lively discussion as we kick off the 2025 high school football season. Listen, we're going to post this video a little bit later on tonight. If you've got comments or questions for these guys, post them. We'll try to get them answered for you.
Where we're wrong too,
Yeah. Give us your opinion.
You get mad at Joe for hating on Texas, and go get after him, man. So you hate on me for being biased towards California, let me know. So
yeah, I already on our site, I already had a couple of California people. I had somebody go after me that Centum was too high, and I had somebody from Florida go after me, a Chaminade fan, that they were too low. So,
and they're ranked number 9 in the country. So.
I know.
Absolutely. So, guys, you can catch the video there on our YouTube channel. Now, Joe's website is nationalhsfb.com, which is basically a national message board where people talk about high school football, the top programs year round. Mm-hmm. So jump on in, join the party, share your opinion with us. Zach, you are obviously, everybody knows who you are, the national football editor for MaxPreps. We appreciate both of you guys for joining us tonight for this lively discussion.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us, man. It's always great chopping it up, and this is going to be a great season. I can't wait, man. It's going to be fun.
Fantastic.
Sure will.
Well, appreciate you guys. Have a great season, okay?
You too. Thank you.
Man.